This is Hannibal back here from the HannibalTV.com. As I reported earlier, Bo Dallas was backstage at Raw, and I guess this Uncle Howdy character appeared during the Alexa Bliss segment, which someone posted on YouTube, and I actually just watched. And for a children's product, that's great. Great for a children's product. I have nothing against it. I just find it funny that the median age of people that watch that show is like the mid 50s to 60s. And I don't understand how people that age can find that entertaining. Mercedes Monroe, aka Sasha Banks, her debut match for New Japan is going to be the Battle in the Valley, February 18th in San Jose. And it's sold out, 2,150 tickets sold. And that's good for New Japan. They don't get close to that usually in the U.S. So I guess she is making a difference. I don't know what they're paying her, but good call for that, and good call for you. Your debut match, you're already getting the title shot. AEW is running in LA this week. Of course, LA, I do love LA, one of my favorite cities in the US. They are not close to being a sellout, though. Their last show was, but apparently it's nowhere near close. And now it's looking like it's unlikely Sasha Banks is actually going to be on that show. Still a possibility, but unlikely, as I previously mentioned. She apparently doesn't want to commit to a 3-year deal, and her New Japan deal isn't that binding. Apparently, at the PWG show over the weekend, that former Great North Wrestling wrestler Mike Bailey won the Battle of Los Angeles. As I mentioned earlier, Chris Jericho and the Jericho Appreciation Society were a surprise on that show. But also Don Callis was apparently there filming vignettes for AEW. He did not actually appear on the show, but he was filming something for AEW. Tessa Blanchard and Daga have officially broken up. He had tweeted something over the weekend that she was cheating on him, which he later removed, but it appears Tessa Blanchard, who has a lot of matches on this channel, by the way, from back when I was previously associated with PCW Ultra. We had a video sharing deal. All of her run as PCW Ultra champion is on this channel. And sorry to hear about that. I guess their wedding did not last very, very long. And I got some bad news to report. I just saw this on Superstar Billy Graham's official Facebook page. And apparently his webmaster posted that his wife Valerie sent a message saying that Billy's having lots of issues. He's at the hospital. The MRI shows he has a bad infection of his ears that has spread to the bones in his ears as well as the area of his skull. Infectious disease doctor was just trying to decide what antibiotics are going to start him on. His electrolytes are still off. His sodium is especially difficult to treat, and they don't know why at this point. We need your prayers. So keep him in your prayers. I spoke to him late last year, and he seemed to be in good spirits. It was the reason I was speaking to him is because people want me to make him offers all the time, and like he's a unique guy, which he turned down a couple easy money offers, but he is in terrible health, so I understand he didn't want to commit to anything and then not be able to fulfill them, because his health is so up and down. And as I said, keep him in your prayers. That's terrible to read about. Vince McMahon hasn't returned on TV yet. I guess his main goal right now is to sell the company, probably to an outfit that very likely would want to take the company private and keep him in control of the company. Why wear a hoodie indoors? Because it's my gimmick. Don't you see when people impersonate me, they put my hoodie up? I'm known for wearing one. And also, I'm cheap and I live in an apartment. I don't like turning my heat on that much. I'd rather wear a sweater and a hoodie inside. If you watch my news clip from earlier today, you'll see the lake outside my house is covered in ice, and there's actually ice fishing huts on the lake. And it's like minus 16 Celsius here right now. I don't know where you live, but Canada is freaking cold. James says her name is Sasha Banks. Help them out. I don't think she can use her WWE name. She has to call herself Mercedes Monet or whatever. But people, I wouldn't remember that unless I would read the report. I couldn't remember that off the top of my head. Hello to you, Tom. Tom, Uncle Howdy doesn't look like a big man. Well, if it is Bo Dallas, which this seems to confirm it, he was never that big. To be honest, I think the Bray Wyatt thing is peaked, and I don't think he'll be as popular as he once was. I don't see as much of a buzz as there once was for him. It looks like it's Bo Dallas, Bray Wyatt's brother. That's Uncle Howdy. Grandma Daisy. Rick Martel is a real estate agent in Quebec City. Saved his money well. From what I understand, he made a shitload of money in WCW. Because speaking of Don Callis, before Rick Martel had his WCW run, which they hardly used him. I remember a series of matches with Booker T, but they barely used him. But supposedly him and Don Callis were going to be a tag team in WWE, and there was a bit of a bidding war. And he went to WCW. He never really had any vices. He saved his money well, made a lot of money, lives in a very nice place in Quebec City, got a job as a real estate agent, which I'm sure him being famous there helps, and a Quebec wrestling legend helps. And he doesn't need wrestling anymore. Tom, I don't know. I think a lot of her unpopularity has to do with jealousy, though. As far as Tessa alienating her friends. I don't know any of her friends. I know Brian Cage and her were friends. But she got a huge push. And whenever you get a big push in wrestling, you get a lot of people jealous of you. I will say in my dealings with her, she did have an attitude. Because there was an issue where we had her booked against Lady Yasmin, and I believe it was 2017, November of 2017. And there was a flight delay in Washington. And because of the flight delay, she couldn't get here on time to wrestle that night. And it's too bad because both Lady Yasmin and Tessa have both millions of hits on this channel for their matches. So them wrestling each other would have been huge. And we were actually going to make Tessa the champion that night of Great North Wrestling. But anyways, that wasn't her fault. But I did see her like a couple times after that. And unlike Haku, who did a video apologizing to the fans and then came back, the first time I saw Tessa, she said she would do a video with me, just addressing it and saying she'd want to come back. And then I saw her like 5 minutes later with her stuff leaving the building. And then the second time was at an autograph session. And she actually just was honest and declined at that point. So I would say because I had paid her a deposit and paid for an expensive flight for her, a courtesy thing to do would be to just address it and say something to the fans. Because it always sucks when people can't show up. So in my dealings with her, she was a bitch, I have to say. But that's not to say that I don't agree that she is popular. And I actually suggested to Jack Kilby that he should book her for Great North Wrestling. And I suggested to SWE Fury that they should have booked her back then. They didn't want the heat from her, but they did take my suggestion of Ivelisse after that and booked Ivelisse. And then when the SWE promoters later started their UWW company, they ended up using both Ivelisse and Tessa. But now I don't know what the status of that company is, if they're still running shows or not. I haven't heard from them in a while. I know Jenny Santana was the commissioner of it or something. I am interviewing Jenny Santana and Shoot from Vision Quest next week, I believe, on this channel. They're working together now at a stem cell firm in Las Vegas. So that should be interesting for any of you Vision Quest fans out there. Tom is sorry to hear about the news about Billy and Bo's praying for him. Tom, I think I agree with you. Billy was bigger than Arnold. You can see it in that picture. And I mean, he would have made a fortune if he had been around a little bit later. Could I interview Maga-san? I'd be open to it. David says every relationship Tessa Blanchard has had and all the bridges she built she burnt, not unlike Tully. Well, I think Tully didn't burn his bridge with AEW. But as I said, Tessa gets hits. I would not be opposed to her wrestling for Great North Wrestling if Jack Kilby wanted to book her for the Great North Wrestling event coming up that I'm not going to announce because it's his event. But there should be some news on that this week, I believe, because I know he has a meeting with the arena manager this week. Tom, Peacock's owned by NVBC, and they're one of the people supposedly interested in buying it, along with Netflix, Endeavor, Saudi Arabia, Amazon possibly too. There's a lot of potential buyers out there. Yes, Tom, it's freezing cold here. David says wearing a hoodie all the time is one of those northerner traits. And yeah, if you go to the gyms here, you'll see it a lot too. I would only wear mine if I'm doing cardio to get a sweat going. But yeah, it's really freaking cold here. Somebody says Joey Janela went from AEW to some channel that has James Ellsworth. What a demotion! Yeah, I never thought Joey Janela was any good. He just seems like another one of those guys, those AEW style guys that doesn't do realistic wrestling and doesn't have that impressive of a physique or anything. So I never paid much attention to him. Grandma Daisy, I believe they had a best of seven series for Martel and Booker T. Tom, yeah, I'm close to Quebec. If you look out my window there, you can actually see Quebec on the other side of the river. So I'm literally right beside Quebec. But Quebec City, see, Gatineau, Quebec is on the other side here. Montreal is about an hour and a half away. Quebec City is 4 hours away. And I have asked him for interviews because I do like Quebec City. They have great restaurants. It's a beautiful city. Beautiful women in that city too. Montreal and Quebec City probably are two of the most beautiful women cities in Canada, without a doubt. But he said he was done with wrestling and didn't want to do any more wrestling interviews. David says they lost the chance to make Bray Wyatt a huge superstar in 2017. Now they're pretty much just jacking off, reinventing him. Yeah, and I think when he asked for time off, and he went 3 months unpaid, or he went 3 months getting paid, sitting out for a time off that he asked for. Then he was released for like a year. So although he did have a bit of a boost when he came back, I mean, they had his debut match on a house show that wasn't even televised. So it's kind of falling flat, I think. Someone brings up that WCW paid for a lot of wrestlers they didn't use. Yeah, but at least they were paying for good ones. Like Sandman was known. People were saying in the Sandman clip, why did WCW hire him? Well, at least he was known. AEW's paying for people that aren't even known and sitting them out, and they get paid for doing nothing. So AEW is worse for hiring way more. They only have what one 2 hour program and one hour program a week, and they keep hiring more and more wrestlers and more commentators to the point where their pay-per-views have two commentary teams. That's overspending, if you ask me, and it's of people that aren't even going to get you any extra viewers. OG says the Baroni stuff is crazy. And I was talking with someone that's familiar with his case and his representation in the case. And the other issue he's going to have is it took place in Mexico, where, you know what, I've never been. I don't know if I ever even want to go there because some of the horror stories I've heard about not only the legal system there, but crime. So he's in a lot of trouble. I don't know him. I did one interview with him. He seemed out of it in that interview, and he did another interview a few weeks ago on here where he also seemed out of it. So I don't know. I'm not really familiar with him. All I know is that him and the King of Connecticut are used to know each other very well when they were younger. Mike says Stone Cold is veiny and jacked. What is he using? Well, we all know that the part timers aren't tested for the most part, so who knows? I haven't seen it. I don't really care about. I already know how to work out, so I don't really look at other people's workout videos. Other than I do subscribe to Mike O'Hearn's channel ever since I interviewed him, and there is some interesting training stuff on there for different exercises to look at. But there is the rumors that Stone Cold might be at WrestleMania. There was rumor maybe against CM Punk, but it doesn't look like Tony Khan's going to let Punk out of his contract. It looks like they're just going to pay him to sit at home because they don't want him going anywhere. Kevin Brett didn't want to do an interview with me because apparently, from what I understand, he's mad at me because some people said negative stuff about him on this channel. So there you go. But I know that one of his brothers, Ross, tried to smooth things over and asked him in more recent years. And the answer he did was he wasn't doing any more shoot interviews, which seems to be true. He hasn't done any shoot interviews for a long time. He's loaded, a multi-millionaire. So why would he bother? Every time he does a shoot interview or goes on the radio, he seems to get himself in shit because he's so bitter. So it's probably better for him to just stay quiet. I'm sure he doesn't need a payday. Jerry would like to see WWE shut down. I don't think that's going to happen. But maybe it would be less political if someone else buys it because it's extremely political right now. So maybe someone else will buy it and have a better vision for the product Because I'll be perfectly honest, I don't like Triple H's vision for the product. They're still hiring athletes with no experience. The last big star they've had is Roman Reigns, who never reached John Cena's level. They're pushing guys that don't even look like they work out, like Kevin Owens. They're signing all these small flippity guys like Dragon Lee. I would love to see someone buy it and actually put a new regime in place. But I would imagine whoever buys it will at least temporarily keep the old regime as part of whatever the sale deal is. Someone says that when the Warrior got his big push, a lot of them snubbed him. Yes, well, as Vince Russo said recently in a clip on here talking about Ahmed Johnson, they also did that to Ahmed Johnson, and he didn't react well, and he ended up losing his push over not reacting well to the other wrestlers being jealous of him. It's just the way the wrestling industry is. They're always wanting to bring you down because they're jealous of your push. So you have to be a very good politician to do well in this business. And also the ones on top are usually trying to hold the other ones down as well. So it's a shitty business to be in. Grandma Daisy Piper's doing well. Jerry, I don't think in this era of WWE there's going to be too many drug overdoses because they do test for drugs now. Marijuana is just a fine, but it's not like the old days where they're wrestling, then going out doing coke all night, then taking Valium or morphine to sleep, and taking speed at the morning to get up and take their flight, taking something else to come down on the flight, taking something else after the flight to have the energy to work out, then wrestle, and going out and partying all night and doing it all over again. Usually, and the schedule was brutal back then. Now the schedule is really easy. I mean, it's rare that they don't do nearly as many house shows. Usually it's only like 3 days a week that you're working in WWE now. So you're not doing the grind. I don't think there's going to be as much deaths for wrestlers because they don't party now. It's good because they're going to live longer, but in the old days, the wrestlers were the wild, crazy people that couldn't get jobs anywhere else for the most part. And it made for more entertaining characters. Now the characters are very bland. And the crazy people are out of jobs. Yes, WWE put food on a lot of people's plates. True. John heard Uncle Howdy is Hillbilly Jim. Well, I would love to see that. Yes, Tessa's a natural heel. I agree. John, Peterborough is further south than Ottawa, about 3.5 hours. So, God, you're lucky. David says, if the Saudi Arabian government ends up buying, what do you think is going to happen to Sami Zayn? I would imagine Sami Zayn will lose his job. I would imagine that the gay people might not have jobs. Who knows? But at the same time, they I don't know if they want to be that obvious. So who knows? I wouldn't agree for them to get rid of Zayn for those reasons, but it wouldn't make a damn difference in anything whether they have Sami Zayn or not. He's comic relief, but he's not a draw by any means. He would have been a manager in the old days. I saw him recently take a stunner from a female referee during a match. It's like the rules don't even fucking matter anymore in wrestling. Ivan knows who Uncle Howdy is. Tom recommends staying out of Mexico and Puerto Rico. Yeah. When I was in Puerto Rico, I was part of IWA when it was at its peak, so we were fairly well protected because the wrestling was very, very popular when I was there. We were there was like 8 hours of local wrestling on TV a week, and we were treated very well. But yeah, I could understand how if you got in trouble there, it could be really bad. But I had a girlfriend pretty much the entire time I was in Puerto Rico that fucked the hell out of me. So I had no reason to go out. To say bluntly, and was very attractive. So that kept me out of trouble. So that wasn't an issue, and I never had any issues with anyone in the office. I was happy to be wrestling for a living. Mike, were I ever a professional wrestler? Yes, I was. 3-time Canadian champion, former WWC Puerto Rico Intercontinental Champion, which I beat Ricky Banderas for, and 2-time WWC Puerto Rico Tag Team Champion with my partner, Monster Pain, and I also wrestled for WWE, New Japan, USA, and Impact Wrestling. But when I was signed to WWE, there's a whole terrible story about it that I won't get into. They ended up taking away my contract offer because we found out that I had Hep C due to Abdullah the Butcher giving it to me. And there was a big legal situation over that. But it cost me my WWE job, which, by the way, I started wrestling after Kevin Owens and I was signed before him, which was one of the reasons he was jealous of me at that time. But I'm glad the way things played out. This job is a lot easier than wrestling. David, MLW is like almost insignificant now, and they pay their wrestlers shit from what I understand, and they only have shows like once every 4 months. I agree they should take the Von Erichs. I don't even think they're using the Von Erichs, but they're stuck in these contracts till April. If I were WWE, I would take the Von Erichs 100%. Hammerstone is good, but he's very open about his. I like him. Every time I met him, we've been friendly. I'm just saying he's very open about his steroid use. So I don't know if that turns them off. And as we mentioned previously, Jacob Fatu has some issue preventing him from international travel. They also have Harry Smith too, which for whatever reason, WWE has signed him a bunch of times, and for whatever reason, they don't seem to be interested with him. You know? So I hope that answers your question. Lou Prio, thank you, appreciate it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to eat. I just worked out. Keep Billy Graham in your prayers. And if you're only tuning in now, rewind back to the part where we mentioned Billy Graham's in the hospital. Have a good night. Thanks for your comments and support. We're almost at 350,000 subscribers. I'm at like 9,000 uploads and about 220 million total views. So not bad for a self-made man.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you enjoyed it and click the subscribe button to not miss any of our latest shoot interviews, match videos, or news updates. Follow us on Twitter at the Hannibal